I wanted to do a little bit of a deep dive on the case of Kameswaram, since that's where Finn is situated, and it fits, of course, perfectly with the topic of this year's World Water Day event. I just want to say the organization that I'm working for now, it's called the Stockholm Environment Institute. It's a research organization where I work as a research fellow in the Finance for Sustainable Development program. But I'm generally interested in, development economics and sort of how livelihood improvement opportunities can be created. So that's why this Blue Flag Beach certification scheme, which is about sustainable tourism on one level, but on another, it's also about business models and sustainability, which is what I'm really interested in. So a few points I wanted to talk about today, just some background about beaches and tourism generally, and why it's important for economic development, the Blue Flag Beach certification, then how India is approaching this certification scheme, and then together with Professor Ramani and the Finn staff, we did a very rapid response SWOT analysis of the potential of this certification scheme for Kameswaram. So we've already heard it a little bit, but beaches and tourism are a huge component of lots of countries' economies. In 2019, travel and tourism was 10.3% of global GDP, and 1 in 10 jobs created is in this sector. And right before COVID hit, the 5 years before COVID, 25% of all the net jobs generated were in this sector. So it's, of course, super important for countries' economies and economic growth. But at the same time, especially beach tourism has had a significant negative impact on the environment. So this triple bottom line sustainability conceptualization that we heard earlier, it's important to acknowledge that there's not always synergies between the different components, but that there can also be trade-offs. And in this case, the beaches the ecosystems were harmed, and so on, right? It's made dirty, polluted, and so there can be extreme negative consequences of over-tourism. And so there has become now a pushback against that, and lots of demand that tourist areas, and especially beaches and coasts, are used and managed more sustainably. And this is supposed to ensure that, even if a large number of visitors does come to beaches, it's still compatible with keeping the environmental situation intact. And this is becoming more and more explicit with policymakers taking a strategic approach to this, to coastal management. And the EU Commission, for example, defines this notion of integrated coastal zone management as a dynamic, multidisciplinary, and iterative process to promote sustainable management of coastal zones. So this is becoming more and more a thing to take care of our beaches. And Blue Flag is one of these schemes that certifies sustainable beaches, and it's kind of one way of contributing to this goal of sustainable coastal management. And I'm not going to repeat all of this because we already had in our great introduction, we heard a lot about what the Blue Flag scheme is. I just want to point out one thing, which is that it's really about combining good environmental performance while also maintaining the social and economic function of the tourist activity. So it's not about renaturalization or rewilding beaches, but it's supposed to be, so the beaches are supposed to be tourist destinations, but also be environmentally sustainable. So I think that's important to just keep in mind, because there are different approaches to how beaches should be managed. And on India's approach, so we heard there are already quite a few Blue Flag beaches. And what's interesting about the Indian case is that in a lot of other countries, this blue flag certification is a kind of driven in a bottom-up process where local authorities are initiating the certification. But in India, they are both on national and on state level massive plans to protect and develop coastal areas. So on the national level, there's this integrated coastal zone management project. Part of that is BEAMS, the Beach Environment and Aesthetics Management Services, that is managed by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And on the state level in Tamil Nadu, there's the TN Shore project that has received massive funding now from the World Bank. So $285 million were allocated to this about a year ago. So that's 2,000 crore. So it's really a lot of money for developing these coastal restoration and blue economy regions. And the blue flag certification is a major component of this. So not all of the money, of course, is supposed to go only for the blue flag certification schemes, but it is a core component, I would say. And so what we did was, since Kameswaram is one of the designated sites for this blue flag certification, we wanted to see, okay, what are actually what could happen, basically, right? So we don't know it. The process is just starting, but we do have some ideas of how things are going in existing cases of blue flag beaches in India and in Tamil Nadu. Then we know about what the situation on the beach in Kameswaram is currently like. And the Finn staff conducted a survey in Kameswaram on the expectations of what this blue flag label scheme could bring to the location. And based on these different sort of data streams, we did a rapid SWOT analysis of what could come. So in Tamil Nadu, there are, I think so far one blue flag beach in Kovalam Beach, which was used as the pilot for this TN Shore blue flag certification program. And as part of the budget, 10 more beaches in Tamil Nadu were assigned over the next 5 years. And we also saw it already. So there was quite a bit of hype and fanfare around it, that the certification was achieved. And it is, of course, an achievement. So this was seen as a major milestone in coastal development in Tamil Nadu. And since in Kovalam, the certification has been around for a while, I think about a year or two now, we do have some, I didn't see any sort of systematic impact evaluations or anything like that. So we have to gauge what the situation is like from more informal sources like newspaper reports and I looked at some YouTube videos and so on to try and get a feeling of what's going on. And we can see that there is an increase in tourism. People are flocking kind of to this clean beach. It's wheelchair accessible, which it wasn't before. There are even floating wheelchairs that people can use to go into the water. There are sanitation facilities. There is definitely some job creation, even if you only consider the management and the administration of the blue flag beach itself. That is already several dozen jobs created. And the section that is blue flag certified is clean. It's pristine from what I've seen. So those are sort of the positives that I saw. On the negative side, it's not free. So people have to pay to get into these beaches, which could lead to some crowding out maybe of and accessibility of people who would like to join, but maybe can't afford it to go there as much as they would like. What is interesting, and which I didn't know before starting to look into this, so blue flag beach certification doesn't mean that the whole beach gets cleaned up and made accessible and all these other worker requirements, but it can only be a section. So in this case, it's only 400 meters of the 3-kilometer long beach. And as you can see in the pictures on the right, a lot of the waste is still on the beach, just not in this small section that is blue flag certified. And so, yeah, I mean, this kind of goes to show that the problem has not been addressed holistically and on a systemic level, but a lot of the problems just got pushed a few hundred meters away. And what's also interesting is that when there are festivals or big events happening on the beach, the blue flag gets taken away for a few days during the festival and during the cleanup, and then gets reinstated afterwards once things have been cleaned up today. So this also shows that instead of preventing waste and garbage, being put on the beach, having like something that is preventative, it's much more reactive, the way it's being set up. And yeah, to me, that was also something that shows kind of inconsistency in this how this label is being applied. So coming to the Kameswaram case, for those who don't know, Kameswaram is in Tamil Nadu in the south of India. The next major city is Nagapattinam, up here, about 40 minutes away. And Kameswaram is already a place where the beach is being used for festivals. So there's a monthly reoccurring festival designated to ancestor worship. So those who came in a bit early saw the video of Professor Ramani and some of the Finterns talking about it and kind of the fallout of these festivals that keep happening. And while there's a lot of celebration and so on during the festivals, right after, the beach always gets extremely dirty, and the cleanup is done by volunteers such as Finn. So there's currently no real system in place to systematically address these this waste and garbage problem. And this is the plan for Kameswaram Beach. So you can see the kind of blue flag requirements of having sanitary facilities, first aid, being accessible and so on, are of course planning to be implemented. But again, it's not for the entire beach. It's only for a section. And the rest will be not worked on for the certification. And the ambitions for turning the beach into with the help of this blue flag label is to turn Kameswaram into a major holy site in India. So to increase the number of people who come to these festivals. And yeah, some estimations say this could be up to 100,000 people every month. The hopes are that this could create economic opportunities. So for the tourist industry, local shopkeepers, food, hotels, infrastructure like road and parking, and also that there will be enhanced education on waste disposal so that people stop polluting so much in the first place. So these are the hopes and the reasons why I think Kameswaram was designated as one of the sites for the Blue Flag Beach certification. And the lovely Finn ladies did a survey this week, so very fresh, about how this Blue Flag Beach certification plan is perceived by the local community, by the people in Kameswaram. And there were only a few questions that got asked. So next to just some demographic questions, are people even aware that this is happening? And do they know what it means? Then what do they think are the positives that could come out of it? What are the negatives that could come out of it? And what would they actually like to see happen? And 25 people were surveyed, almost 50-50 female and male. And occupation-wise, a lot of fisher folk, and then a mix of other occupations. So just to sum it up very briefly, quite a lot of people had heard about it, at least about this blue flag certificate. What exactly it was not always clear. So there was a lot of mention of beautification and tourism development. It was less explicitly acknowledged that this was also about biodiversity conservation. And some people, of course, also didn't know what it is. On the expected positive impacts, cleanliness and infrastructure improvements, hopes for improved jobs, tourism, and also prestige for the village. And some saw that it could help local businesses and the quality of life. But there was concern, especially, of course, among the fisher folk, that this could lead to a loss of docking space, more marine pollution, that the water would get contaminated, that waste actually increases, and that because the beach is not freely accessible to everybody anymore, this could also lead to social exclusion. Especially women were worried about education and safety issues. And there were some concerns that children would start skipping school in order to go to this nicely refurbished beach. And also that could be something where the locals don't actually benefit, but the outsiders will come into the community and basically reap all of the rewards from this. So the main demands from the survey were that there is enhanced education on waste disposal, which I think is a great sign, and also girls' safety. And some people opposed the project entirely and were just against it and were scared that their livelihoods would be threatened. So there are some potential benefits seen, but there's also concerns, basically, I think is the high-level takeaway. And this, I think, is a little bit indicative of the approach that India is taking to this certification scheme, that it is very top-down, that it's not very inclusively being planned, and that the local communities are not asked, basically, about their opinions on these things. So to sum up from these different data sources and insights, what are some strengths and opportunities of the certification? There could be significant economic growth in tourism, as well as world recognition, as one of the people in the survey called it. There can be educational and social benefits, as well as of course, better environmental awareness, recreational space for children, and just a cleaner beach. And it could also lead to enhanced kind of cultural and spiritual appeal of the village if there are lots more visitors coming for religious ceremonies. And something that I forgot to put on the slide, but of course, the environmental aspect is also a strength. So biodiversity conservation shouldn't be forgotten, even though I did forget to put it here. And weaknesses and threats. So there are threats to the livelihoods, especially perceived by the fishermen, because they will have less space to anchor their boats. And also people express concerns that with this development in infrastructure and increased urbanization, their current types of jobs will disappear and inequality could worsen.
Max, there is a concern that time is running out.
Yes, I'm almost done. I'm wrapping up. But thank you for letting me know. And there are waste management challenges, of course. So it looks like there will only be a small portion of the beach covered by the blue flag label. And what happens to the rest of the beach? Will the garbage, like in other places, just be displaced a few hundred meters, or will a more sustainable approach be taken? There are also some competitive risks, like what I was saying. Is it actually an advantage if the beach is not consistently clean? So if after every festival, especially if they reoccur so frequently, the beach is dirty for 5 to 10 days. And in Kameswaram, there's also some competition from nearby other holy sites. So will this kind of be enough of a draw for the tourism that people are hoping for? And there are also some gaps in education and capacity. And this is my last slide. And I'm only going to say this kind of first point again. I think it is a drawback that India is taking this very top-down approach to the coastal management and to the blue flag certification. And local communities are being kind of pushed to the side and their concerns are not being addressed. And so I think, just jumping to this last point here, to properly implement this project, there should be more inclusive planning with the local communities. And then ideally the blue flag certification can act as a catalyst for sustainable long-term development in the region. And I'll leave it there. Thank you.
What is the one thing, in your opinion? I know it requires a longer, I feel, discussion and maybe debate. What's the one thing which Fintrust can do to support the positive aspects of taking this forward in its true spirit, including ensuring the inclusive inputs are put up to the policymakers and administrators?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, one of the reasons why we started looking into this a little bit was also, of course, with the idea of potentially getting involved somehow as Finn. And so far, we haven't seen any like official pathways, because the tendering process for implementing this, it basically is one package. And it got assigned probably to some major private company that has a lot of resources. But I think Finn could play a great role in being one of the voices of the community. And when this implementation actually starts, to go to the local politicians, to the policymakers, and keep pushing to incorporate the voices of the local communities and their concerns. So basically to just channel the activities that Finn is anyway already doing, which is to, be a loudspeaker for people who otherwise don't get hurt. And at the same time, I think continuing the education about waste management and behavioral change, so to prevent the pollution in the first place, rather than just hiring people to clean up. This is also something Finn is already doing, and this could also be expanded and maybe just sold as a more sustainable solution.